Have you or a loved one been affected by pgnosis? Symptoms include blaming the controller, banning your own viewers, and saying, that's impossible 47 times a stream. However, there is hope. Welcome to Duty Streams, the internet's premier center for DSP analysis, memes, and emergency anti-pgnosis treatment. We expose the cope, we study the salt, and we ask the hard questions. Did the game really screw him, or was it just another skill issue? Subscribe to Duty Streams today, because pgnosis spreads fast, but laughter spreads faster.
Seems to be competitive, eventually sells out, and becomes this more easy mode mainstream stuff. And the problem with that is that if you want to play it at any kind of an entertaining level, you either have to give in to the bullshit and mash buttons, or you have to basically play a ton. Because you can overcome the easy mode nonsense if you play a ton to learn the ways around abusive stuff. Because, especially with modern fighting games, most of the meta, most of the high-end abusable stuff is learned within the first couple of days and shared on the internet. The first person who I played online in Marvel Tokon, the very first experience match I had on Thursday, was someone who had Blade, the vampire hunter. He hit me with an aerial jab, okay? Just a random jab in the air. He landed and then proceeded to do a 50% damage, 100+ hit combo, which was unavoidable because he hit me with an aerial jab. This was launch day, the day when it's the first time anyone should be playing the game, and the guy already knew a way to hit you with an air jab into a 50% loss of health. That is horrible. That is horrendous. That is a heinous day one gameplay experience. No one should be playing at that level in any competitive game on the first day of its release, period. But that's what the FGC has done with fighting games. They have literally turned them into this easy to execute, yet once you master it, try hard-esque sweats experience that's just not fun to play unless you want to be part of that community. Well, if you really want to spend all of your time and effort playing fighting games, maybe you'll enjoy Marvel Tokon day one. For me, it's like, dude, first match, let's see what we can do. What the hell's going on? How is this guy doing this? It's just out. How does he even know how to do this? This is ludicrous. Okay? Now, what's the real controversy around Marvel Tokon right now, and why is the game falling apart? So, as you know, 2 weeks ago, well, a little over 2 weeks ago now, I played the open beta. And when I played it, I was trying to matchmake and find matches, and it wasn't finding any. Like, it wouldn't find casual or ranked. I'm like, what's going on? Why is the matchmaking not working? Then, when I finally found people, the game was laggy, right? It was rollback city, dropping frames, skipping around, stuttering. It's unplayable, okay? Then, the only way I could even find a match was to go into a lobby, which is just an open lobby situation. And the only people I could find were like 1-bar connections. So basically on PC, which is what I play on, that's my format, okay? That's my platform. This game was essentially unplayable and unfun during the open beta. So I said, all right, I don't know if I'm going to get it because, man, the game looks great. But it should play way better than that for a game you're going to pay full retail price for. That's a joke that it would be in that sad state during the open beta. Now, the weird part was people who played it on PlayStation 5 didn't report any of those issues. They basically said the game played well and liked it. So why the vast difference in performance between PlayStation and PC? Nobody knows. And this has been a big problem in the last 2 weeks. People have been figuring out why is this PC version such a problem. So back on Thursday, the game released. All right. And I started playing the offline modes, correct? The story mode, which is actually called episodes. We started with the Dr. Doom team. I had a blast. I absolutely loved playing it. It had a great story. Yeah, there was very little gameplay in the story. Mostly it was fighting against the final boss's 4 different forms. Yes, the final boss actually has, well, I take it back, 3 different forms. The final boss has 3 forms that are all completely different. And we all had a great time with it. Like, honestly, the story of the Knights of Doom was great. And when we finished it, I was like, wow, okay, let's now go online and let's see how we can play this game online with this team I just was messing with in the story mode. First match was that Blade player who literally was a sweats tryhard who had already learned the entire game before it had released and basically was completely dominating. It's like, what is this? This isn't fun. There's absolutely no opportunity for me to learn anything about the game when this guy already knows the entire meta and has mastered it before we even released. How did he do that, and how is that even fair? The second guy I played, well, actually wasn't nearly as good, but this guy basically kind of already exposed the game for what it's going to be, a bunch of button mashing, because again, the game is all auto combos. So it's dash forward and mash a button. When that hit string ends, because eventually you're not going to get endless hits, it's going to run out, you call out an assist, the assist comes out and defends you against punishment, and then you just mash buttons again. Every once in a while, either go for a throw or the universal overhead, which everyone has. It burns meter, but it's a universal unblockable overhead, right? And that's the game. Like, that's literally it. Now, I'm sure there's more to it. I'm sure certain characters are good at zoning, right? They keep you away with projectiles and stuff like that. But for the first person I played, that was their gameplay, and I was like, it's kind of boring. Like, that doesn't feel very good to me. That feels pretty boring if that's what the whole game's going to be, and that seems like that's it, right? So that was my first stream experience. Loved the episodic story, and then first online match was laggy, and the guy already was a tryhard, ruined the experience of the first match ever. And the second match, the guy didn't really know much about it, but was doing the button masher combos, and when I saw it, I was like, okay, so this isn't very good. Second stream that I did of the game, I just did the entire story mode of the Samurai Outriders, who is the team with Ghost Rider and Deadpool, Loki, and Blade. And their story was way more interesting than the Doom story, and it had character development, and it was well written. It felt like you were reading a really awesome comic book arc. It was good. I actually really liked it. The thing was, it took over 2 hours, so we didn't have time to play the game online again. All right. And I said to everyone, well, I'm going away for a couple of days. Let's reconvene when I come back next week. Let's see where the game is at and go from there. So here's where the game is at, because I don't think you guys are going to be very happy about this. All right. First off, I just want to let you know, I got a whole bunch of information about the game. Okay. And a couple people were writing me about the game to keep me informed about it while I was off, about what was going on at the FGC. So just listen to this. I'm going to read this word for word. This is an actual message that a fan sent me. It says, let's start with some bad news, Phil. I've been seeing a lot of opinion surface about Tokon since its release, and I'm going to sum up the sentiment I've seen in a number of places that makes sense to me. The sentiment is that Tokon is a great game for only two kinds of people. Number one, ultra casuals. Tokon's great for people who just want to enjoy a game with great aesthetics. They play by mashing buttons and cool stuff will happen on the screen. Which is exactly what I said. That's number one. Number two, dedicated tryhards. Tokon has a ton of mechanical depth that shines by far the brightest when the player puts in a tremendous number of hours into this game. A bunch of pros are saying the game has the potential to last and evolve for a long time, especially if Arc Systems works further to refine the core mechanics, as they typically do with their games. The problem is, a lot of its mechanics are very complicated. They are not intuitive. A lot of characters have a gazillion options for offense and strategy. While the skill ceiling is very high, the floor is also high. The skill floor for just playing the game and seeing cool things happen is low because it's just button mashing, but actually competing requires you to have a significant amount of time and effort investment. So as you may have figured out by this point, the reason that this is bad news is because you, Phil, fall neither into any of those two categories. I have to admit, it doesn't bode well for your coverage of the game, but maybe there will be some enjoyment you can get out of it. So yeah, let's be honest here, okay? Let's be very honest here. I don't fall into the ultra casuals because I'm not an ultra casual. I try to play games at the very least at a level where I'm learning what the game is. I'm trying to learn more complicated strategies. I'm actually doing the combos manually. I'm not just mashing a button to get an auto combo. I'm inputting the combos like you're supposed to get optimal damage and things like that. I've played fighting games since I was a kid. So obviously I want to play it at a better level than just button mashing, right? Here's the truth. I could sit here and button mash and win online in this game. 100%. I know I could because it's so easy to play. But I would get absolutely zero enjoyment out of doing that. Zero. I would be bored to tears saying, okay, mashing buttons just to get hits in and just to get combos in and never actually, putting in the real inputs, the real motions, just doing all the easy motion. I would absolutely hate it. On the flip side, it seems to me, as this person has stated, that yes, in this regard, if you really want to play this game at any kind of a good level, you're going to have to invest an incredible amount of time and effort, which I don't have. I'm a variety streamer, right? I'm a variety guy. I'm going to be juggling this with many other games. I am not part of the FGC. I'm not known as part of the FGC or someone who covers fighting games extensively. Normally, I just cover them casually. There are some exceptions. For example, when Street Fighter 6 came out, I played an incredible amount of Street Fighter 6. I got pretty good at it. I got tons of characters to master. But that was the difference. Is Street Fighter 6 is a head-to-head traditional fighting game. That's my forte. This style of team-based button mashing, giant combo, one hit leads to 50% damage kind of game is not my forte. The most I ever played a game like that was Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and that was in the early 2000s. I didn't really play Marvel 3. I hated it. I didn't really play Dragon Ball Fighters. So the ones that would have led to me being good at or liking this game, I didn't play. Okay? So you might say, well, that's not good. Well, let's continue because there's more that's happened during my days off. Are you ready for this? So, I'm just going to continue. These are messages that I actually got. I just tuned into Maximilian's stream of the game out of curiosity. I saw that he's really struggling with the PC version. He was doing online play and the game was running pretty badly. Slowdown, stuttering, big rollback during most matches. Just not good. And he was commenting on it, baffled that there seems to be literally no way to actually reliably avoid these performance issues when you play this game online. From what I've been able to glean about this, the problem isn't netcode. The PS5 version doesn't seem to have any of these issues. The problem is with the game's performance, which is somehow exacerbated by the online play. If either player during a match has performance issues when you're playing online, the lag happens on both sides. The devs are still saying they're working on improvements, and there's no ETA yet on being able to fix this, okay? Now, continuing on, this same person sent me a follow-up message and said, so the game is currently being review bombed on Steam due to the big performance issues that it's having. Meanwhile, Maximilian is doing a new stream, and it's titled Tokon PS5 version is great, WTF. So you might say, in light of all of that, what just happened? Okay, well, here's what's happened. In the last 48 plus hours, the FGC has collectively decided they don't want to play Marvel Tokon on PC anymore. That the game runs like shit when you play it online. And here's the problem. If you're doing crossplay and you're on PlayStation 5 and you play someone on PC, everyone gets lag. Everyone stutters, everyone rolls back, and everyone has a bad time. So what's actually happened is the FGC has collectively agreed we're all going to buy this game again on PS5, and we're all going to play it with crossplay disabled, so the lag won't be present for those playing it on PS5. Also, for the record, the FGC tried to not charge back, but refund the game on Steam, and the vast majority of players have been denied because if you play a fighting game, you likely are going to play it more than 2 hours. So everyone who played this game on launch day played it more than 2 hours, and all of their refunds are denied. No one has been able to get a refund who played it past 2 hours, without exception. Like, no one's getting their money back because they're like, no, the rule is 2 hours, and you all played the hell out of it on launch day. So even if it doesn't perform well, too bad, you played it too long. So no one can get a refund. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about this right now because I have a very strong opinion about this, okay? First off, thank you to SMG, who did 400 kicks. So let's get that on the leaderboard. It was 100 kicks separately there. Thank you for that. And then I got a $1.50 tip from someone saying you should play a few fights just button mashing mindlessly and win. No, I don't want to. Here's the point. I don't want to do that. Could I just literally told you I could do it and win. I know I could. The game is brainless. You can literally go online, just wait, mash attacks, call out an assist, wait, mash attacks, call out an assist, wait, mash attacks, call out assist. That's the game. I would have zero fun doing that. I would rather not play it ever again than do that because I'm an actual fighting game player. I'm not a brainless twit. I'm not a mouth drooler. I play games to enjoy them and to be entertaining. No, neither of those things would happen if I played the game like that. I hope you understand. It's it would be a complete waste of everybody's time. Okay? Thank you for the tip, and thank you to Quasi Regarded also for 100 kicks. Okay. And now SMG did another 100, so thank you for that. Okay. So, hold on. Excuse me. Belch came out of nowhere. I wanted them to mute it. So, with everything that we just said, okay, I want you to think about this very logically and from a standpoint in regards to everything that's been going on recently in video games in general, okay? Excuse me. It was just about a month ago, a little over a month ago now, that Sony publicly announced their desire and or intention to completely phase out physical games media starting in 2028. They outright said we will no longer create physical copies of games at all starting in 2028. The future is digital. Grand Theft Auto 6 announced we will not make any physical copies whatsoever of GTA 6. It will be a digital-only game. And what happened when those announcements came out? Everyone was up in arms. Everyone collectively on the internet got their pitchforks and torches out and said, no, we want physical. The future is physical. You don't own anything if you can't own it physically. You know what I'm saying? Everyone went nuts. Everyone was anti-Sony. Everyone said, we're boycotting Sony because of this. This is absolutely atrocious. We're not going to play anything on PlayStation. We're not going to buy PlayStation games. We're not going to, right? Across the board, it was a huge agreement that this was bad. Everyone dislikes this change and this idea that Sony has. Everyone is anti-Sony. So here we are. It is now early August, a month later. Marvel Tokon comes out. The entire FGC buys the game on PC. By the way, the game is published by Sony. These same people who had their pitchforks and torches and were all upset, they all ran out and bought Marvel Tokon in droves because it's Marvel, baby. It's the new Marvel game. But they ran out and bought it on PC. Guess what? The game sucks on PC. It plays like shit. It won't run well online. There's rollback, there's stutter, there's problems. So what did they do? They said, oh, let's buy it again on PlayStation 5. And let's set it now crossplay off so anyone who has it on PC can't even find anyone to play because we want our Marvel and we don't care about any repercussions or our behavior. We just want Marvel, okay? So I want you to think about this logically. We just said to Sony, we don't want a digital future. And then a month later, you bought Marvel Tokon twice because it didn't work. What? How fucking stupid are you? Really? The game doesn't work on PC. No one can figure out why. So you went and you bought it again? And this is the company you strongly criticized, citing they're ruining gaming's future because they want to go all digital. You said you were going to boycott them. And now you bought their exclusively published game twice because you need to play Marvel because you're a hype beast in the FGC. These people are not very intelligent, folks. They're not. It's just the honest truth about the modern FGC. It's this simple. They need hype. They need to jump on hype bandwagons. They realize that the FGC is a weaker community than many other communities out there because there aren't a lot of games. There's not a lot of competition. It's harder to get into competitive FGC and make it stick. The tournaments are getting stale and boring. Street Fighter 6 has lost a ton of its momentum outside of Japan. And in Japan, Street Fighter 6 is the shit. Outside of Japan, people's sentiment is the game is too samey. It hasn't updated. It hasn't changed. It hasn't improved. It's boring. So they were strongly relying on Marvel Tokon to be a hype monster, especially with the fact that we just had Spider-Man Brand New Day break box office records as the highest grossing domestic film ever. And now we've got the new Avengers Doomsday coming out later this year. They are banking on the fact that this game is coming out at the right time to create hype for the FGC and try to get them prominent. So, God forbid the game actually sucks at launch and you admit it and you say, wait a minute, We just got ripped off, whether it's Arxis, whether it's Sony, whether it's one or both. We got ripped off by a badly produced game that runs like crap online, which is the main reason people buy fighting games. And instead of saying, hey, let's have some balls for once, and let's not play it, let's boycott it, let's actually be sensible about this and say this doesn't make sense for us to actually, play or spend money on because it's not a good product. They said, let's buy it a second time on a different platform instead. And they're pushing for it too. Like, there's creators who are saying, oh, this is better on PS5. Go buy it on PS5. Why would you do that? Why would you tell your customer or your viewer base who relies on you for input and advice to buy the game twice when they can't refund their first purchase? People are trying to get refunds on Steam and being denied because Steam is saying, no, you played it longer than 2 hours. So the game doesn't work on Steam. All right. Yet you're telling them to buy it a second time without getting their money back. Does that sound like responsibility? Does that sound like something that a good influencer or creator should do? Or do you think you should actually care about your audience and be like, don't buy it again. They ripped you off the first time. Put your foot down and say, no, Sony, I don't want an all digital future. I don't want you milking us and ruining stuff for us and taking our money and robbing us with subpar products. You don't deserve it. If anything, the FGC should be saying we should boycott Marvel Tokon because this game ripped us off on PC and Sony is not a good company. Instead, they're literally telling everyone, buy the game a second time on PlayStation 5 if you want to play it, and everyone should do this because Marvel Tokon is hype, because Marvel Tokon's the future. So the reason that they're doing this is very simple. They're desperate. The FGC knows that they need hype games to keep their community pertinent. If they don't have a new hype game every year, then people stop talking about the FGC. And it lowers in its importance, and it lowers in people caring about watching EVO and other tournaments, and people just don't give a shit. There's entire people who their livelihood is dependent on fighting games being prominent and talked about and streamed and played. So if Marvel Tokon doesn't succeed and ends up being a flop, they're out of money. That bag that they thought they were going to make is now gone. Oh, darn. So what they're going to do is very simple. They're going to lie. They're going to hype. And they're going to shill, which is exactly what they're doing right now. I'm glad that they were honest and saying that the game sucks on PC. That's a good thing that they did. But anyone who bought this game on PC and then recommends you go buy it on a separate platform, even though you can't get your money back for the first version, that's irresponsible. That's not caring whatsoever about your viewing audience and not doing the right thing. The right thing to do would be like, nah, you got ripped off. Don't spend money on that crap. Play something else. But the FGC can't afford to do that. This has been like this forever. This is Street Fighter V. When that game came out, that was a horrendous piece of shit at launch. But they all kept playing it and kept spending money on it because they were desperate. They needed a game to talk about and play because if they didn't, they have nothing to put out, no content. So that's the truth. That's my take. You could disagree, and that's fine if you do. All right, but here's my take on it. Just like everyone else who bought this on PC, we all got ripped off. All right? I played the beta, and after the beta, Arxis came out publicly and said, this is why we have betas, to learn, to adjust, and to improve. So rest assured, we took all your feedback during the beta with the PC problems, and this will be fixed for launch. 2 weeks later, nothing was fixed for launch. It still runs like shit. Now, it very well could be they'll fix it. Okay? But you heard what I just read you about what people have discovered about this game. It's either for ultra casuals who just want to button mash, or it's for big time sweats and tryhards who invest an incredible amount of time into the game. Well, I'm somewhere in the middle. Even to be honest with you, even with Street Fighter 6, I don't think anyone could even consider me to be a tryhard or a sweat. I was more of a hardcore casual. Does that make sense? Like, I would play a lot of it, but then I would still play other games. It wasn't that fighting games were my main focus, and I only played it, and I went to tournaments, and I did all that. I did none of that. I only played the game solely online. I only learned to a certain level. I got certain characters to master, and then I was like, all right, that's enough. And I moved on and did other stuff. To be considered a tryhard or a sweat, like, this is your thing. This is your major focus as a creator or a player, and that's all you do. And I'm never going to do that with fighting games. I just want to make this abundantly clear. Moving forward, I'm not saying that I won't cover fighting games. I'm not saying that I won't enjoy fighting games. And I'm not saying that I'm never going to play a lot of a fighting game. But I can tell you right now, I have found my way of success being a variety creator. Doing fighting games here, a shooter here, an RPG here, Pokemon one day, Assassin's Creed the next, Dark Souls the next. That's how I'm successful, because I jump around and I do variety and I don't get stagnant. If I only played fighting games, things would get stagnant as shit and would actually dry up and be boring around here, and I would lose a ton of my audience. And I know that. That's why I'm a variety creator. And that's why I continuously take your feedback and take your suggestions. I tried to integrate and improve and do new things in my content that I didn't used to do. Great. This entire thing was your idea. Integrating collectible cards and everything into my content was your idea. That was your feedback that allowed me to do that and do something different and do something interesting. Okay, so I'm happy for that I'm doing new things. What if I just sat around playing fighting games all day? Maybe for a very small percentage of you, that would be fine. But for most of you, you'd be like, that's boring. You're doing way too much of it. And I know that because even when I was just playing as much of Street Fighter 6 as I was, a lot of people were complaining that they were bored. Okay?